What is up, everybody? It's me, Duke Farley, back at it again here on Lost at Sea. And tonight we are talking a little Ascendance Live, Season 3, Episode 10. And I am here with the one and only Sandy. What is going on?
What is up, dude? Thanks for inviting me. Super excited to be here. Great episode of Ascendance tonight.
You are coming on the first, I think, hour and a half episode of Ascendance Live, and there was a lot to unpack here.
Yeah,
A lot of good stuff. I know that you have a close relationship with Mr. Rocky,
I
being on the same prod
do.
team
I
here for.
do.
He had a lot of screen time this episode, right? Immediate thoughts. He was the front and center of the first vote here and the double. But what do you think about everything that Rocky did this episode?
Ugh, my heart hurts. I was super pumped for him when Rory willingly gave him that half of a pendant, right? So he had a pendant. I was like, yes, my boy has safety. As soon as the challenges are over, I find him in a closet with public enemy number one, and he's divulging this information to Josh. And I just knew as soon as that was happening, I just knew it was gonna be bad, and boy was it bad.
Boy, was it bad. I mean, it's crazy because it seemed like it was. I mean, it didn't see. It was public what Josh did to Billy rounds before, a couple rounds before, and really just sold him out in front of everyone. And you would think that's the one person you don't want to tell anything to, but he goes ahead and tells him.
See, okay, so just quick little backstory was mentioned in the season a little bit where Rocky was like, I was trying to gain your trust because they played a game. I was in it. It was called Spectrum, hosted by BDL and Will Shatterwhite. And they didn't see eye to eye. And so when I
Right.
saw them revealed on this cast together, I was like, oh shit. I wonder if that's going to play into it. And so I guess Rocky was trying to rectify any ill will that came from that game.
Yeah.
Um, but I know that that was against his better judgment. And like you said, in Ascendance time, that was probably what, the day before
Right.
that
Yeah.
Billy left? Yeah. So not even 24 hours later, Rocky is falling victim to the same occurrence. And yeah, it was heartbreaking.
I will say though, even though he kind of has that misstep, his social connections with Sarah and Ozzy really kind of help him here, right? Because they, immediately tell him what Josh
Hmm.
did, and potentially it seemed like Josh wanted to actually vote Rocky out
Yeah.
with Sarah and Ozzy, but they also wanted the pendant flush, as they both know there are now two pendants in this game. Now there's zero.
They did that. They did
Um,
that. They got him out.
they got him out, but kudos to Rocky for having those connections, with Sarah and Ozzy to get him through the round, even though he does have to burn the pendant.
Yeah, that for somebody with like less of a social game, that could have ended really badly. Maybe it happened in the second one.
Yeah.
Nobody warned Kira. She went home with a pendant. People warned Rocky. He was able to play his pendant. So that could have been a disaster. But once that scene came up where Sarah's like, I don't want to do that, but I do want the pendant gone, I was like, oh, Queen saving the day.
Yeah. And I want to talk about just the two halves of the pendants coming together. So Rory, a couple episodes prior, found the first half, and then we see Emily get voted out with the second half a couple episodes ago. And then it seems like it was pretty easy for Rocky to kind of just get that other half from Rory. He kind of just gives it over willingly there.
Yeah, that's an ally that I would
Love.
ride to the end with for real. And you saw me say play Ascendance. I know what it's like to have a half a pendant and then suddenly a full pendant. So yeah, it's always good to have an ally willingly give you a half a pendant. That's somebody that Rocky should definitely keep close.
And so the actual person that gets voted out, nobody actually votes for Rocky here. So if he had the
Mm-hmm.
ice in his veins to hold on to it, it would have been kind of sick. But totally understand. him wanting to get rid of it. What did you think before we get into Ali getting eliminated? What did you think of just the blow up at the actual vote? Josh and Rocky going at it.
I knew it was coming. I saw when Sarah and Ozzy pulled Rocky into the closet to strategize. As soon as Sarah said it, I saw like how hurt he was. But it's sort of like, shame on you for believing it. Like, we kind of already discussed it, but I knew it was coming when that elimination discussion came up. I just knew Rocky wasn't going to be able to bite his tongue. So good for him for being able to get his feelings out. Will that bode well in the future? Did it turn people away from wanting to take him further, or being scared to lie to him or make him look a fool? That's yet to be determined. But it was riveting television.
Yeah. And I think they really hashed it out. I feel like they're just gonna kind of gun for each other at this point. There's pretty much no reconnecting there.
I hope so. There better not be an episode next week where Rocky's like, I forgive you, Josh, because I would just end it all.
So we lose Ali here. I think comedic relief of the season.
Absolutely.
He said the
Absolutely.
spice of the season. We lost the spice of the season. Obviously I played your game with Ali, thought he was great. And I thought he was great this season as well. What do you think about the decision? I guess that it was between Rory and Ali here. The decision to vote out Ali over Rory. It seemed like people were talking about Ali being somebody that might be able to coast to the end. A lot of people would want to bring to the end, but he goes out here in the first juror spot.
It's sort of like I agree fully. Like if I was in the game, the person who's seemingly least threatening, not playing, more of a comedic relief, as you said, yeah, that person may be likable but may not earn the respect at the end. So I would have probably wanted to take him as far as possible. But as far as my recollection serves me, the group that he was in, I think he said it to Rocky, like they never voted together, or he said it to somebody in the episode where he was sort of on the Billy side of things, the Emily side of things, and they're not really there anymore. Well, they're not there anymore.
They're
And
gone.
so the luck of the draw on the teams, it was sort of like, yeah, he was the next logical person to go, I think. And I'm glad Rory
And
stayed.
yeah, and I think Ali says it in his like passage, like in the end of him kind of talking about his summarization of his game. Kind of wishes that he strategized a little bit early, and that's something in Ascendance. Like you really need to talk to the people every round. It seems like to get on because you never know who you're going to be at a vote with.
Yeah, if you're not talking to somebody just because you're safe, and he was safe for a little bit for like a couple of rounds,
Yeah,
you're missing out on that bonding time, that getting to know time. So if your neck is on the line, you haven't put in the work. And the slogan of Ascendance is play the game before the game plays you.
you got to know the slogan, and you got to abide by it. That's what we
Period.
get.
Period.
And then Rory here getting 2 votes. What do you think about Rory so far? I feel like in my opinion, first of all, I noticed that Rory likes to touch people. He likes to hug people.
He's a feeler.
He's a feeler. Love that about him. But I wonder what the other players think about that. Like just always like having that arm touching you.
He plays with like his heart on his sleeve.
Yes.
And sometimes I'm super calculated in games that could be cutthroat, but sometimes I'm playing based off of my emotions. And I feel like that's how we've seen Rory, which I actually kind of like. Instead of, there's some game bots in there, there's some challenge beasts in there. Rory is that like emotional player where like
Yeah.
you can see how he's feeling on his face, and then it dictates how he acts. Like that first, or the one of the times, maybe it was the second time that he was a target earlier on, it was just like written all over his face, and you could see today he was leaning against the door just like exhausted. um I'm rooting for him. Do I think he's gonna win? Probably not. But I've enjoyed what I've seen of him so far.
Sandy, what did you think about when people were saying that Rory had a lot of powers? His decision to take the power and put it on his chest and just walk around with it and like scream.
just dramatics. Dramatics. It was like he was emotional about people mentioning powers, so he did the most over the top thing he could, which was staple it to his chest and walk around batting it. Funny, funny, good game move, probably not, but
Most definitely not. But we'll see where that finds him. The next vote, I think, though, even though we see Ali go, the next vote I think is probably the biggest blindside of the season thus far. I'm trying to think back to
completely
everybody.
like
Yeah,
opposite of the other one. When Matt asked, or Papa, when Papa asked, does anybody have anything to say? It was like silence when we just heard 15 minutes of screaming at each other. And then the cold hearted blindside. It was a nice juxtaposition. But I feel so bad for Kira because she was eating it up.
that was that was tough to watch because that was, and like you even see it, her reaction, and like typically people are like, after they get voted out, like
She said,
everybody,
"Good luck," walked away.
this cast is a huge like hug cast. She
Yeah,
just
yeah.
stands up like she just saw a ghost and walks out.
Yep, yep. I felt so bad at that moment. Awful.
Um, 3, 2, 1 here. We see CJ just turn on her on a flip of a dime here. Is that just crazy to you?
For CJ, no. To
Yeah,
turn
I
on
guess.
Kira, it's a little bit more shocking, but because I've seen CJ maneuver in the game, I don't put anything past the dude. He's pretty crafty. When he's backed into a corner, you never know what he's gonna do, what he's gonna say. So kind of shame on Kira for not for putting that much stake in into that guy.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, the willingness for him to, there was a moment where Marcella was talking about the willingness for CJ to kind of just throw her under the bus like that. I thought that was leaning towards we need to get CJ out.
Mm-hmm. Oh
Little
yeah, I
did
thought the edit was going there for sure.
and and it seems like Taylor and Marcelo kind of spearheaded this get rid of the pendant. Or Kira wasn't receptive to what Taylor was laying down in the conversation that they had,
Mm-hmm,
and she was
mm-hmm.
able to just get her out.
Turn it right around, which is impeccable gameplay. The best decision for her. If somebody wasn't receptive to her idea, there's no guarantee that they're going to be receptive to her ideas in the future. And
Right.
then this person has a pendant. If I can get you out, I'm getting you out.
Any surprise that Kira doesn't do a Billy and throw the pendant to somebody that wasn't at the vote, or were you like she was probably blindsided and just took that shit with her?
Yeah, I wonder what's gonna happen with that. Is it probably just two more pendants gonna be rehidden? Like, what's gonna happen? I'm not shocked that she didn't play it for
Yeah.
somebody or do something with it, because she was blindsided. She wasn't the huggy type after she got voted out, so it's not like I see her willingly just be like, here guys, or here whoever.
Would you be
Mm-mm.
the huggy type if you got voted out?
To my allies, if I felt like if I felt like they were with me, like in my Ascendant season, I would have probably hugged Taisha, Sam, Zach, and then flipped off the rest.
I feel like the opposite of that, like the Adam Michael Kennedy exit, the Kira exit. I feel like those are so much more fun to watch.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'm not a really huggy type of person. Maybe when I have a little drink in me, but like in a competitive environment where I'm trying to win, heck no, don't touch me.
Yeah, get the fuck away from me.
Yeah,
So Sandy, at the beginning of the episode, we had a battle back. First
we
in
did.
first in Ascendance live history.
It
I
was a good start to the episode.
I did my odds earlier in the week on who I thought would get back into the game, and I had AJ as my favorite to get back in, so I called that shit.
Your
And
mind too powerful.
it was a battle between AJ and Adam. Billy also came pretty close. Who are you rooting for to get back in the game? And are you happy that AJ's back?
Honestly, I was the three who were the last three were the three that I was rooting for, plus Emily, but Emily was out kind of early. But when it came down to those three, it was like there's no bad returning here. But just based on who I know from the org community, I was really, and because not that he specifically traveled for Ascendance, because I'm not really sure. I know he did like a whole US thing, but I felt I wanted Billy to return because
Yeah.
yeah, his exit was the most heartbreaking.
It would have been fun to see him get to reconnect with Josh.
Yeah, yeah. Sorry, Rocky. I know didn't want Billy to return, but I did.
Where do we go from here, Sandy? Who do you think is in trouble? And who do you think's playing well?
I think the best player right now, Taylor. I feel like she's just uh, has such a like a prominent storyline, and like we see what she's doing pretty clearly, and she hasn't really made a misstep or a mistake or a blunder, and we don't hear people talking negatively about her, and not like negative is a bad thing. It could just be as like, oh, that's a social threat, that's a comp threat, and I haven't really seen that, and I could see her being a threat as a viewer, and the fact that we're not seeing that perspective from the other players, I think she goes deep, and I hope she does. Um, I'm rooting for obviously Rocky, Ozzy, Taylor, Sarah, and Rory. I really hope that. I think that was like a fivesome that was mentioned earlier. I really like that crew, but I'm also super impressed with CJ's staying ability and how he adapts, even if he has to throw his best friend under the bus. And I'm not necessarily rooting for Josh, but he's bringing entertainment, and I'm a villain when I play. He's a villain, so I gotta stand him to some extent. But where the game goes from here, I don't know. I don't. Ascendance is so unpredictable. I do expect that five to maybe work together for like the next couple of votes of this early merge, but anything more than that, your guess is as good as mine.
It's so crazy because literally last week I was talking to, I forgot who I was talking to, Joda Lee. And we were talking about how Kira was somebody that we thought we had to keep an eye on.
If I was
You
here
know,
last week, I would have been saying the same thing. The same thing.
and on a flip of a dime, she is just absolutely blindsided. Rocky was a person that we thought was doing well, and I think he definitely took a step back in the rankings here. Obviously, he can recover.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely take a hit.
but Taylor, up to this point, I think you're right in saying that she really hasn't made a mistake. A lot of people um have kind of messed up, so she really hasn't had to show her cards that much.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that she's smart
Hiding
and kind
behind the
of,
mistakes of others.
yeah, and I think she's smart and just like taking a step back and letting people kind of self-destruct.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I do think, and next week we could see a Taylor blindside, and
And yeah, we'll be eating our words because that's
that's
how
just the
crazy
game.
this game is. Yep. Yep.
But I do think she's in a great spot. The other thing I have to shout out the box being hidden in the game from season one. I thought that was a fun little twist in the game where you had to go kind of find a puzzle on the windows. I
To get the
remember in
code to get in, yeah.
I remember in season one it was a fun little thing where you could actually grab the box and run away with it. But they put a little note there like,
They
don't touch
changed
this
that
shit.
rule this season. Yeah, they said you can't take this.
Shout out Peyton and Steph.
Hey Peyton, hey
But
Steph.
I also want to give a little shout out to Josh and Marcelo for winning immunity.
Oh, they
Um,
ate that up.
the individual immunity there. I did think did not see Marcelo winning that one, but he was able to clutch it.
I called Kira, but I saw as soon as like the challenge started that he was the one that just seemed so sturdy, so focused, and I just knew that he had it in the bag eventually. And that
I also
second team
know,
ate. Sorry.
yeah, I also noticed that Josh was the only one that did not wear shoes. His shoes were
Mm-hmm.
off in the background, so I think he had some extra traction. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, he was the only one without shoes on, and he was the only one to win, so it had to be the shoes.
That's what it was. Do you you mentioned, you did play a little villainous in your season of Ascendance online,
I think I
and
was a hero, but everybody's telling me differently. So whatever.
everybody's telling you differently, he said, she said. But what do you think? Josh is such a sneaky villain, quiet, calculated, sneaky villain, but I love it. I love watching him do it. I love him just riling up the players. Like, obviously, heartbroken for Billy to go home the way he did. But is that something that you like enjoy watching?
Oh yeah, as a villain, you don't care what the viewers or the VL thinks of the players that you're playing with. You're gonna snipe who you need to snipe when you need to snipe them with a smile on your face, especially if you get to stay. And if Twitter's going crazy, being like, "Oh, I hate Sandy, I hate Josh," well, then you're just like,
At least they're
"Okay,
talking about you.
yeah, right." So yeah, Josh is entertaining. I'm not saying Josh is carrying the season, but without Josh, we would still need another villain. And I feel like Josh is playing the role that we need as a villain. Every story has a villain. You can't have one without it.
Do you think, though, that the two moves that he's made up to this point, basically selling out two pendant of powers to people that entrusted the information with him,
Mm-hmm.
do you think that these individual plays were smart?
No, in that it's made him like public enemy number one. People are like biting at the ankles to get him out. And had he not won immunity tonight, who knows if he would have survived, right? And so he's made his life more difficult by doing these villainous public moves. But the longer that he stays in the game, the better it's going to be for him. Like he has the most resume right now than most people there.
And do you think that he can, because oftentimes we see in orgs, I feel like, and in regular shows, that it starts to twist, maybe he'll twist his storyline to be take me to the end.
Oh,
Nobody likes me on the jury
a
now.
few more. If he makes it to like seven, that should be his selling point. Because how many people are left? Like nine, eight? I'm not really sure.
I
I'm
think
really
nine
bad at
at this
that.
point, yeah.
Nine,
Or
yeah. So
maybe
if
eight at this point, yeah.
eight, okay. So one or two more rounds. If he makes it one or two, three more rounds, that's higher chances of him fucking over three or four or two more people. And then yeah, everybody hates me. Everybody's cussing me out on the way out. You know,
Yeah.
they're talking shit to me about me on the jury, guaranteed. So it's going to help them, I think.
Well, Sandy, I can't wait to see what happens next episode, see the aftermath of everything that happened in this double
It's going to
elimination.
be good.
And I appreciate you staying up the extra half an hour and coming on the podcast for the first time. I really
I
appreciate
got
talking to you.
you. Anything for you, Duke. Anything for Ascendance, and anything to troll Rocky and his awful move tonight.
Yes.